At this time, we'll call the regular meeting in New Ulm City Council for October 6, 2015, 5 p.m. to order. First item on the agenda is your consent agenda items. What's your wishes?
I'll offer a motion to approve.
Second. We got a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda items. Any discussion on any? Seeing none. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries. Item number 2A. Consider a motion approving the issuance of a lawful gambling permit for the NWF or TF Deer Deutsch Longbeards chapter.
Right.
Did I get it right? All right. And that's for February 6, 2015. Any discussion?
2016.
16. Sorry about that.
He'll be going.
No.
The Longbeards, I got a feel that's turkeys.
Yeah.
But anyway, no more discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries. Item 2B, consider a motion approving the issuance of lawful gambling permit for the New Ulm Sertoma Club.
I'll offer the motion.
I'll second.
We got a motion and a second, and that's for Wednesday, January 27, 2016. Any more discussion? Seeing none. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries. Item 3A, number 1, consider an application for the River Valley Christian Church for a variance from the city code to allow a gable roof to be constructed over the Washington Street entryway up to the city right-of-way on the property legally described as the south 72.87 feet of Lot 1, Block 107, north of Center Street, address 100 North Washington Street.
Just like to comment, the Board of Zoning at the meeting, we recommended approval for 6 feet. He'd like to go to 13 feet, which will be, I think, coming up later on the agenda here. But that was how we approved it, and then he would have to come to council for the remainder that he would like to achieve. I do believe he's here in the audience if anybody has any questions in regards to it, but I mean,
So
With-
how should we go about this?
well, we can approve this,
Mm-hmm.
but then it's going to be later on the agenda here,
One of the last items, yeah.
5F, to go the remaining distance. So I don't know if we want to go into detail right now to explain how we're going to explain the first 6 feet, and then go back at it later for the remaining 7 feet if he wants to get us 13-foot.
Mr. President,
People rough.
council members, the issue quite simply is this. They're asking for a variance to go to their property line.
Mm-hmm.
That's one action.
Mm-hmm.
Since the city owns the right-of-way, which would encompass
Ah.
the sidewalk, as the owner of the right-of-way, you would have to give permission for the
Got it.
additional
Thank
7
you.
feet.
Thank you.
Okay, so this is a variance due to code,
Ah.
and then you've got another item due to ownership of the right-of-way. So those are the two actions.
I'll move that we approve the request of the River Valley Christian Church for a variance from the code to allow the canopy.
I'll second the motion.
Got a motion and a second. Any more discussion?
Unanimous vote, and from what I'm seeing, there's really no conditions on this one either.
Not on this one.
Not on this one. All right.
Any more discussion?
Well, the only other thing is, I think since the representative of the applicant is here, it might be best to adjust the agenda to have that issue next, rather than get, maybe.
We can do that.
We can do.
No more discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries. Okay, now we'll go down to item 5F. Consider a request from Alan Belter on behalf of the River Valley Lutheran Church of New Ulm to extend the gable roof 7 feet over the North Washington Street right-of-way at 100 North Washington Street.
Mhm.
All right, now we'll discuss that.
Yes.
Do you have anything on that, Larry?
Just that if he's going to be putting wood posts, they'd be in the city right away, or if that roof is going to cantilever, we're going to have to look at that for the setbacks, so we're liable for that if someone runs into those posts or rough supports, so. Do you wanna step up to the mic?
State your name and address for the record.
Okay. It's River Valley Christian Church.
Do we have a picture of it, Al?
Lutheran, but-
Here it is.
We have a picture
Yeah.
of,
Okay,
Yeah.
as far as the posts, we want the roof to come out to maybe the sidewalk, but the posts, we can work back a foot, foot and a half, 2 foot to clear, keep the sidewalk clear for snow removal. If that was a question. And it would keep the ice, we want to do it this way, so no ice and water would fall out, it would fall to the sides and not down into our walkway.
Yeah, Mr. Chair.
Yes.
Mr. Becker, just, because there's people listening and I'm not always sure I get things at first. Can you just explain to us what the problems that you're having and the reason that you want
Yes.
to have this?
Our church members, there's a lot of members older than me. And we have several meetings down there. We have AA, NA, OA, and we also have, every Sunday, we have a, potluck. Once a month maybe, but every Sunday we meet downstairs. But anyway, the old entryway was just a wooden path and always icy and really hard for the old people to work their way down there. Now we have a nice area where they can walk down and get down easily, but now it'd be nice to keep them out of the rain, snow and everything while it's wintertime.
so with that entrance to the lower level, I'm assuming when you have heavy rains and snow is your issues, right? Because of the ice melting?
Yep.
Okay.
The first year we just had before we built what we have now, we had just maybe a 4-foot wide walkway, and that was constantly full of snow.
Now, Al, you got windows right above that. Would that canopy then cover those windows, or would it be higher than that?
No, the 2 windows
Lower.
that come into effect are this way, and if we peak it, we're gonna peak it so we don't, because they're stained glass windows we don't wanna get rid of.
Okay.
We're gonna peak it so they'd come there, work it out so where posts are back from the sidewalk, and that hopefully we still have the 13 feet above the sidewalk.
And then we have a picture of this building with a metal roof. Is that what you're assuming that to look like?
Yeah, it won't
That's
be,
what I
we
thought.
won't have a fireplace.
No fire, oh yeah, there's a fireplace there.
But
Looking
very
at a metal
similar.
roofing as well?
Yep, to match the church. And then the posts would be probably covered with metal to match the church.
Now, they're not, are they gonna be green treated wood, I'm assuming, so they're gonna last longer, not? Okay.
Yes.
And, Mr. President, now, who would Mr. Bedker and the church work with to make sure that the posts were placed in such a way that they wouldn't cause problems?
Elwood?
I see Elwood back there. I see Elwood.
Either Chris or Elwood, and I'm gonna pick on Elwood. I think. Yeah, I would anticipate, we would probably require a license agreement, which the city attorney
Okay.
would draw up, that would allow that roof structure to be over the property line. And I think that would then dictate where the posts would be located and that sort of thing, which then would be information the building inspector would rely upon to verify that it's constructed appropriately.
So basically, you're stating that for us, that the city would be out of the liability in case somebody ran into the posts. It would be-
I don't know anything about that part of the liability.
just-
City attorney would best answer that.
Couple of comments. First, if the council were to decide to grant a license is something that would be an agreement individually with this existing church. It's different than an easement that would run with the land. So if the church is acquired by someone else, this license agreement would normally expire. And whoever the new person is would have to come around and deal with this. That would be appropriate with the other conditions that are described in the agenda item. One of the things that's mentioned here is to have the city named as an additional insured, which would provide some additional protection, because otherwise, anything that they're gonna do to indemnify us is only as good as whatever assets or resources they have. So we would wanna have insurance in place. I'm assuming there's a policy now. I'd probably wanna see what you've got for your limits. but that would be the best we could do to try and provide the city with some protection. And I think I would appreciate it if it was clear somehow, a little more specificity as far as what this design is going to look like, you know, where these posts are gonna be. And it's not really clear to me.
And we sent, excuse me, I'm sorry, I'll let you finish.
I was just gonna say, Al, the most northerly extension of the roof, would that then go up to the east boundary of the sidewalk? Or how far is the roof itself gonna go? And the posts are gonna be set back.
Yeah.
But the roof
whatever we
itself,
need
would
to,
it be
we
over?
can run them back a yard if we have to, the posts itself.
But how far would the roof itself go towards the street?
Well, whatever we can do, I mean, you know, if we go 13 feet, then we go 13 feet, if we can't, then we wouldn't.
13 feet would get you to where?
I
Is
think
that the
right up
curb?
at the edge of the sidewalk, are you talking out that way, to the
Yeah.
side? Yeah.
To the edge of the sidewalk?
From the roof, from the side of the building to the sidewalk is 13 feet.
Okay,
We
that
don't
was my
have to
next
go
question.
exactly 13, but what'd be nice about that, then the sidewalk starts to slope this way.
But it would be to the easterly edge of the sidewalk, so it's not gonna overhang the sidewalk?
No.
Okay.
We can stay back as far as you want us to, but the closer we can go, the better.
Okay.
And I think, didn't Deanna send some pictures in and stuff to?
Yep,
a
that's what we're
dinner
looking at.
drawing
Pictures.
and-
Yeah,
that's what we're looking
we
at.
have the pictures, but if you were gonna look at a blueprint, it doesn't show
Yeah.
the top-down
I'm not a-
view at it as to where the sidewalk is
Yep.
and where the roof is.
Yep.
And I think that's where the confusion
Yep.
is.
Well, would it be appropriate for us to make a request that the city attorney work with the applicant for an actual license agreement, so that we can get all those things worked out ahead of time, and maybe at our next meeting, approve by resolution the request, so that with all the details and all those things worked out?
Sure.
What did planning zoning comments?
That was, we don't have control over we could okay the first 6 feet, but
And that
after 6 feet, it's a
Had to come
council
to us.
decision.
Okay, I didn't,
Because
but
it's
was
in
there
the
any
city right
comments
away.
about that coming out to the sidewalk from your group?
There was no
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 opposition?
objection from any neighbors, you know, in
Okay,
regards,
that was,
And you had
Yes.
concerns about the liability issues?
correct, you know, the liability is, ours is with where the posts are. I mean, if the post is right up to the sidewalk and a kid runs into it with their bicycle, or someone
That's my
walks
thought,
into it,
yeah.
you know, and, you know, that's,
And if you look at the pictures, if they move those posts back a yard, there's landscaping that comes right up to the sidewalk. So they're gonna hit that drop off on the landscaping ever before they hit
the
the,
retaining
yeah.
wall.
yeah,
right.
before they hit
Yeah.
the posts.
Yeah, I think I would like to see it back a little bit from that sidewalk, maybe a
Right.
foot.
Yeah, oh yeah, I think that it needs to be back, but,
Yeah.
you know, I think we're pretty well protected as
I
far
think
as them
so,
hitting
too.
that
But I think we need to
post.
establish the distance, you know, I
Right.
mean, if he
Right.
comes to us with his plan and said, you know, structurally, we can go 2 feet back, and
Do we have
so
any
we
other
have that
properties like this
stated for
anywhere?
Roger for when we write up the agreement.
Do we know, do we have any other things like this in the city?
There's
That we know of?
Snowbridge.
No.
Sure there is, but
No?
if you look at the little shelter roof,
Yeah,
that looks to be like 2 feet back from the edge of the roof where the posts go down, which would be, I think, more than ample in that situation.
That was our building official. A place we have it, kind of, sort of, is at the Brand Apartments. There's a
Oh,
canopy
sure.
overhanging there, which is allowed over the sidewalk,
Okay.
being in that zoning district. So
And-
that's,
we haven't had issues
You know,
there.
not that I'm aware of. It's hanging 3 feet out, 8 feet above the
You don't
sidewalk.
have concerns about this project?
What you're talking about, setting the post back and making sure we've got some
And-
clearance and stuff.
I went by after our planning and zoning meeting again, and then I verified the former junior high school on the rear has got a canopy, just right across the street. There's a canopy
Oh.
that's probably 3 to 4 feet off the
Oh.
rear entry of
Sure.
the junior high
You
school.
just look at
also.
this slant, you
So-
can see this is future problems
Oh,
here.
yeah,
This is
right.
a
Yeah.
lot of
Yeah.
liability
This
for
is-
that
I
church.
can feel
So,
myself coming down that
I just think we need
stair.
to cover ourselves.
Yeah, right.
Otherwise,
I would move that we refer this matter to the city attorney to draft a license agreement and work with the applicant and the building inspector to make sure that we know exactly where these posts are gonna go and exactly where the roof is going to extend, and I'm hopeful that we can have it back at our next meeting so they can get this in the next construction season.
I'll second.
We got a motion and a second. Any more discussion?
I have a question. Does that address the distance then from the sidewalk of the roof overhang?
Well, I wouldn't have any trouble if it came up to all the way up to the sidewalk, 13 feet, as long as
I
the
wouldn't
posts
either.
and, yeah.
No?
As long as the posts are set
As
back.
long
Right,
as
as
the
long as the
posts
posts
are set back. and
Right.
Yeah.
Right, but
So
I think we
just-
should know exactly
We should
where they
establish
are.
that.
Posts would be set back how
We're not gonna have any city,
Well,
we're not gonna have any city
Structurally,
equipment
we have
running
to
down
go
our
to Elwood,
sidewalks that are gonna run
you
into
know,
this.
for his building, prove his building plan, and
Going off
Give
what
the
we can set
recommendation.
back 2 feet is the maximum we can cantilever anything.
Okay, there you go. With the help of the building.
No, is that the leading edge of the? Trailing edge of the-
No, no, no.
I'm just hoping I don't have to draw anymore.
Done a pretty good job.
We too, we agree.
All right, any more
Right.
discussion?
No.
Excuse me, what would be my next move then to?
I'll need to talk with you, Al. I'll need to get some information from you, and maybe need to have you stick around. Maybe I can just catch you now and get that, so, yep,
Okay.
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 Good.
Thank
We
you.
have very interesting stuff tonight to talk about, so.
Yes, we
You'll be
do,
entertained.
fascinating. Parking is right around the corner.
All right. No more discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries. Let's see. We'll go item number
3B.
3B, number 1, consider a request designate the National Guard Army Building as a New Ulm Historic Landmark.
I'll move it.
I'll
Second.
We got a motion and a second. Any more discussion?
Just that the Heritage Preservation Committee unanimously recommended that we approve it. It's a very unique building.
It
It has
is,
a lot of
yeah.
rich history behind it.
Some people call it the castle in town.
Yeah.
and, I hear that comment, so, yeah.
Thank you. Oh, thank you.
I'm surprised we haven't done it before.
Yeah.
No more discussion? All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed, no. Motion carries. Item 4A, consider a motion to appoint an additional member of the local option sales tax laws committee for diversity purposes.
Right. Well,
Mr. Grummins.
Mr. President, City Council members, at the local option sales tax committee meeting, it became apparent that we weren't necessarily as diverse as we had hoped to be. In the final conclusion of setting up the membership. As such, the committee recommended that the city council consider adding one more additional position and appointing a female to that position, and that the youth position that currently was unfilled, it'd be, some senior in high school, we were unable to identify anybody that was interested in doing that, that position be filled by a young leadership person in the community, possibly one from the HYPE group through the chamber. Talking with Audra at the chamber, they didn't find anybody necessarily from HYPE because they're new and pretty busy themselves, that she did come up with 2 names, of which I was just told that Miss Jenna Hansen has withdrawn her name from the youth appointment category. And we checked around and utilized 2 names that were on the original list. That would be Kathleen Backer and Marianne Baumgart as an additional appointment, and also a Laura Haig decided that this would be of interest to her also. So what we have is Janelle Worm, Kathleen Backer, Marianne Baumgart, and Laura Haig, as 4 individuals have shown an interest in being appointed to the local option sales tax committee. I guess, when 12 days ago before I left for the conference, I
vacation.
put this together, and we just kind of filled in the blanks in my absence. And if I were to do this over again, I don't know that I would, necessarily have maybe a youth appointment now. I would just say, fill 2 vacant positions, or 3 if you're so inclined, whatever the number is.
Remind
There's
me
no
how many we
magic
have on
to-
there now? Remind me how many people are on the committee now?
Is there
9,
9?
is it?
9, I think.
I think it's 9, but 1 is vacant.
Right, because we had,
The youth position was vacant, and so we said, well, we fill that with, one of the persons interested. And what the committee requested was to go to 10. And then add another female in that position, so there'd be 2 females, 8 males. And I did get a call from Jim Hogan, who's on the committee, and he said, hey, if you want to appoint more females, he'd be willing to even bow out of the committee. He would, say, I'll release my appointment, and you can appoint 3 if you wanted to. So that like I say, I just got
Because he
that this
doesn't
morning.
want to serve, or just simply that he was willing to open up his seat?
I think he was willing to open up his seat, given the fact that I think there was more men than women, and this was an opportunity. He didn't give me a reason why, other than that he said, given the makeup, he'd be willing to bow out if you wanted to appoint, additional female to that. So it's whatever the council wants to do. You
Well,
set up the membership,
right,
you
and,
set up the number.
well, Mr. President, I don't think it's going to be a big surprise to anybody, but that this is a very important issue to me. I spent most of my working life being the only woman in the room, and I can tell you that it's not always the most comfortable position, but I was great at it. So, no, but having women's voices in the room on this local option sales tax committee is not just about doing things for show. It's about really having different opinions and different life experiences and different voices. We have it sometimes when there's just one segment of the population involved. It's real easy to just get involved in sort of groupthink and not having anybody to say, hey, wait a minute, there's other people who feel differently. Also, I think, and this is perhaps the most important thing, this is going to be an advisory committee. I think it's essential that the committee be formed in such a way that it has credibility, that people look at this committee and say, well, gosh, this is representative of everyone in our community, and we can, when they say that we speak for the community, that people believe them, people believe that voice. And it's absolutely not about the lack of qualifications of anybody who's on the committee or asking anyone to step aside for the committee. So, and I'd like to see several more women added to this committee for credibility, for diverse voices, and for the sake of the women that are on there, that they no one have to be the only one or two. That's how I feel about it. I asked the chair of the committee to be here to give us his input on whether or not he felt that the committee would be too large, and so I'd ask if we can have Toby talk to us a little bit.
Toby? Name and address for the record, just.
Good evening. Thanks, everyone. Toby Fryer, 1415 7th Street North. And agree with everything that's been shared at our first committee meeting. One of the first orders of action was to talk about this issue. And it was full support of the local option sales tax committee. And I believe the agreement was to at least have 2 additional female representatives added if the council would support that. So here tonight to just again express my support for that. I think we can work with a larger committee. We have I think we'll be tasked with evaluating many, many projects from many different perspectives of the community. So the wider kind of net we can cast of representatives from the community, I think it can help and have collective wisdom of a committee to take on this pretty significant task ahead of us for the community. And I had reached out to two potential nominations, and one is here this evening. She wanted to be present in case others would like to hear from her, and her name's Janelle Worm. So if you have an opportunity, I'm sure she would share a few things about her background and why she thinks she would be a good fit for our sales tax committee.
I would appreciate that.
So what I am hearing from you is you're fine with not, that we're not going to get too large. I know sometimes you have too large a committee, it becomes more difficult to get things accomplished, but you, like you said, you got a lot to accomplish. My brain is going to is maybe if we did accept Mr. Hogan's resignation and appointed all 4 women on this list, then we'd have an even, little bit more even, but I don't know what you think about that.
You know, I'm not concerned about the number that we're talking about, whether it's 10 or whether it's 13. I think we'll have a group that hopefully will be engaged, will be coming prepared to meetings and be respectful in all areas of, discussion. And I'm not worried about whether it's 12 or 13.
Okay.
I'm not as concerned about that. I want you to be comfortable with the decision that's made and at least the kind of empowerment that we have as a committee to do our work and to bring back recommendations.
We know Ms. Worm is here and she wants to be part of it. Do we know that the same still holds true for Kathleen Backer, Mary Ann, and Laura?
Yes.
Okay, because things change.
And
things
you were
change.
they were
They've been
contacted.
contacted, and their response was yes, they were still interested.
Mhm.
And just on the number of people on the committee, the League of Minnesota Cities has, I believe it is 4 major committees that deal with taxation and growth and the different categories. And they'll have 55, 60 people show up for their committee meetings. So and you represent
Interesting.
843 cities in the state, and whether we have 9 or 11, to me it's just not an issue, because sometimes people can't make that
Can't make it either.
particular
Yeah,
meeting, and
I'd rather not have 55, but if the number's less.
Well, it is a lot up to the chair to keep the meetings moving, and you got the experience and the background and exposure to that. I think if these 4 women want to be appointed, why not appoint them?
Right, there's no statutory.
There's no statute on this.
We're just
I could see
doing
subcommittee
this,
work
right?
coming in your future, and we need people for that. So I'll make the motion to appoint Janelle Worm, Kathleen Backer, Mary Ann Baumgart, and Laura Hagee.
I will second that, but only on the condition that Ms. Worm come and introduce ourselves.
She came all this way.
She came all this way, and tell us a little bit about what you'll be bringing to the committee.
So my name is Janelle Worm, and thank you for letting me speak. I did just move here a year ago, which some might think, what do I know about New Ulm? But I was Minnesota raised, and my husband and I came here for his job, and we were really excited about moving to a smaller community. And with that, I wanted to get involved right away. So that is my intent, and I feel like I have great skills to add. I have a marketing degree from Eau Claire University in Wisconsin, and then I got my MBA in finance at St. Thomas. And I worked at United Health Group for a good 7-8 years prior to having children, and I just ended my professional life, if you will, about a couple years ago, because I have 3 children. Everett is 6, Helen is 4, and Meredith is almost 2.
Your hands are full.
So yeah, so I have a new job now, but I do want to get involved in the city, and I feel like I have some good ideas. Again, my husband and I have lived in many different places, and we can finally really truly feel like this is our home. So with that, I feel like I can add a lot of new ideas, but also learn from people as well.
So you have a unique perspective being the.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes,
absolutely.
that's great. Thank
Any
you.
questions? Thank
Anybody have
you.
any concerns about adding 4?
No.
I guess I probably should have asked that. I just
I
think
think
we
it's
had-
great.
Saves
I think
us
it's
from
good.
picking.
Yeah.
And
Well, it makes our job easier.
Thank you for wanting to be
Thank
part
you,
of it.
thank you.
And for clarification, that was keeping Mr. Hogan.
Yes,
Yes.
oh,
Yes.
yes, yes, absolutely.
I didn't know initially if we wanted to keep it smaller, so.
Oh.
Okay, we got a motion to second. Any more discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, no. Motion carries. Item 4B, Review results of the strategic planning work session and consider addressing areas as determined by the city council. Brian,
dear.
do we have anything on that after a 2-hour meeting?
Got nothing.
More to come in a later meeting.
Okay. I don't know if we really have anything that we
Yeah,
want to.
I didn't feel that there was any direction that we'd want to take up right at this point. I think what we'll do is some of the items that we talked about will flesh out costs and some of the things that were brought up that we just don't have the answers to, and we'll get back to the city council on those.
Okay. Do we need a motion or anything to table it, or just?
No.
Okay. We'll go on to item 4C. Consider resolution to establish a 45-degree angle parking on the side of First North Street and one handicap stall between State and Washington Streets. You got anything on that, Steve?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. President. This was old business from the council considered this request at the last council meeting. As you may recall, Mr. Paul Warschauer, on behalf of Senate LLC, requested angle parking on the south side of First North Street between State and Washington. So we prepared some layout drawings for that. And at the last council meeting, Fire Chief Mako expressed some concern about establishing a fire lane and being able to reach those existing buildings. So the council tabled it. We came back with 3 different parking layouts. If you scroll down to those, parking layout A has the angle parking on the south side of the old high school campus with the 100-foot fire lane. That can establish 22 total marked parking stalls, including the parallel on the north side. Then on parking layout B, we flip-flopped it and put the angle parking on the other side of the street, and that came up with 23 stalls. And in each case, we have to establish one handicap stall. And then parking layout C is just kind of the previous existing parallel stalls, which would give us about 19 total marked stalls. So the both A and B can be accommodated with the existing 50-foot curb-to-curb width of the existing street layout. So it's kind of a maintenance issue, and up to the city council if they'd like to do this. I don't know if the fire chief wants to be heard with regard to what he would prefer.
Paul?
Fire Chief Paul Mako. Councilors, the plans that, or layout that the engineering department has drawn up for you, which gives us that 100-foot fire lane, is certainly sufficient for what we would need for that building. So as long as we have that fire lane, whatever you decide with parking would be fine with me.
And then Mr. Paul Walshauer is here also. I don't know if he...
You should be required to speak.
Yes, he requires.
You should be required to speak.
Speak.
And I did not share these with...
Yeah, I haven't seen them.
Boy.
Paul Warschauer, 15 North State. Yeah, fire is essential, so whatever the fire chief says goes. The only request we would have as a building owner is that put the handicap spot closer to Washington Street. Soon you will see the plans that we have for the building, which include a small parking lot that would be on the corner of State Street and North First. So there'd have to be an adjustment if we did that. So if we just build it now, somewhere on closer to Washington Street on our side of the street, that would be.
Yeah, we can do that in either case.
Okay.
And the angled, to me, the angled parking and parking layout A makes the most sense. If I'm living in that building, I want to park as close as I can to that building. I got groceries to carry, and I got kids, I got whatever. I want to be as close to that building. I don't want the angled parking on the other side. I think the parking lot A, is that the one you recommended?
I haven't seen them. I haven't seen them.
Come over here and look at
Well,
it.
and see that,
So A is pretty much what we had talked about with
Right.
the
Yeah,
school
that's
building.
right.
And then just to, because I
Yeah,
wasn't...
you've got it already, so
Yep.
the handicap spot, that's
And
fine.
then B is just we flopped it to the other side. We could bring that down there, but I agree if we're gonna chase people across the street, let's minimize the number of pedestrians.
All right, thank you.
is that a
So,
motion?
are we, yes, we want a motion on that. I'll go ahead and the resolution, I'll offer the resolution, waive the reading.
Second.
We got a motion and a second to waive, offer the resolution, waive the reading, and that's for
A.
A?
Number A.
Okay. Any more discussion?
I guess, was there any neighbors that had any objections or anything, or comments on this, but the
I think
parking?
they would prefer Plan A too, so they don't have those headlights shooting at their property as well.
I didn't know if anybody called into the city or.
Nobody have any?
Mr. President, we don't, the city council has authority over what happens
Okay.
within the public right of way, so we don't hold public hearings or
Okay.
send notices or anything of that nature.
Okay. Any more discussion? Seeing none? Finance Director, please call the roll.
Counselor Fisher?
Yes.
Counselor Mack?
Yes.
Counselor Schultz?
Yes.
Counselor Webster?
Yes.
President Schmitz?
Yes, motion carries. Item 5B, consider a motion to amend the city code relative to ATV, UTVs use within the city corporate boundary. Comments?
All right, the material you have before you reflects a citizen that was using a vehicle which is commonly called a UTV within the city limits and getting groceries and doing general shopping. The individual was stopped by the police department and was told that they could not operate the vehicle within the city limits as it was not authorized by city code. Some things had changed in state statute as of August 1st, but it still leaves the use of ATV or UTVs up to the discretion of the city council, whether or not they can be utilized to go to shopping areas or go from one part of town to the other. Basically, what you have before you are the information that talks about a Class 1 or Class 2 ATV. The Class 1 ATV are those vehicles that are usually ridden front to back, and the Class 2 is what we typically call a UTV, which was a side-by-side. UTVs have steering wheels, they've got brakes, they've got seat belts, they've got headlights, they've got all the things basically associated with the last time this came before us. They were talking about golf carts, if they put headlights and seat belts and brakes and all the good things. And the city council decided not to go that route. But UTVs are much more polished, they're much more high-tech, but they're basically created to be driven off-road. They're not basically set up to be a city street vehicle. I think you can get street tires for them, but that's typically not how they're sold. So, with having said
Wait,
that,
Mr. Grammons, I don't think that that's an accurate statement of the distinction between a Class 1 and Class 2.
Okay, good.
Okay? The statutes don't talk about UTVs. That's something that the industry uses, consumers refer to. The way you've described them is exactly right. It's generally a larger off-road vehicle. It's got a steering wheel instead of a handlebar. It does have side-by-side seating instead of a saddle like a motorcycle. But the distinction in the statute only has to do with the width between the outside diameter of the wheels. And a Class 1 is one with a rim width that's 50 inches or less. Class 2 is still an ATV, but it's got between 50 and 65, so it's just a little wider ATV. There is no UTV in the statutes. What there is there's ATVs, there's off-road motorcycles, and then there's a category just off-road vehicles. And that presumably is everything else, mutter trucks, whatever. And that probably would include this new category that's becoming more and more popular. Now, off-road vehicles cannot be driven on public streets unless the municipality decides to specifically allow them to do so. And we have one individual who apparently has raised this issue, so it's on the agenda for you to consider. But that's the statutory background, at least as I see it, so.
I assume they read the issue sheet.
Oh.
All right.
You should say, I'm totally confused by this as a person who hasn't ridden a snowmobile since, 1963, so I the more we can talk about this, the better. I'm really confused.
If you
Yeah.
if you noticed vehicles that are used to water the flowers in the downtown area.
Oh, thank you, yes.
Side by side seating with a
Right.
steering wheel.
Right.
The gators that you see park and rec, driving around into parks where they're
Right.
doing maintenance, they would be kind of considered,
Yep.
you know, in that
Yep.
same category.
Yep.
They're typically, you know, ridden on grass or dirt, and
Right.
only very short periods of time they're on asphalt.
Okay,
And
and how do they fit into the statute? What,
They are off-road vehicles.
they're
And
just.
part
plain
of the statute refers to the DNR rules, which I've also reviewed, and I think the council should be, and this is a very complicated area, but as far as the only mandatory equipment, these basically have to have one headlight, they have to have one taillight. These aren't passenger cars or trucks. They don't have seat belts, they don't have bumpers, they don't have passive restraint systems or airbags. And I guess it's the city's decision. If you want to allow their use on public streets, you can do so. But they're certainly not as safe as what regular licensed passenger vehicles are.
And like I said, I've been struggling with this for quite some time, but as I was reading the statute, if we allow them, we have to allow them under the terms of the statute. We can't say, we'll allow them only by licensed drivers.
It says, correct, Counselor, it says that if the city allows it, the ordinance allowing it has to be consistent with the statutes and the rules that apply to those particular types of vehicles. So I don't think we can probably require them to have two headlights or brake lights or stop lights or things, or seat belts or wearing helmets or anything like that. So either we accept the limitations that the state has as being it, or you don't allow them.
And that would include the age of the driver, which I believe is it 14 with a?
12.
12 with a permit or a going
Not sure
through
if
a-
I'm ready to have 12-year-olds driving
Right.
UTVs down our city streets.
Yep.
And I don't know if we can limit that age limit, can we,
I think
Counselor?
you can't. I
No,
think
I
that's what
think
it said.
this is something that, again, I mean, the state law says they can do it, and if we say that they can be operated on our city streets, then we have to accept all the terms that the state has got.
I guess I got a question for you, Roger. Do we have other cities that have adopted a policy?
I think there are, but to
are we
my
aware of any?
knowledge, I think most of them are probably a lot smaller than New Ulm. Probably much more likely in northern Minnesota, where people, I think, generally use these more frequently. I'm not aware of any communities our size in southern Minnesota. that have
Not
this.
in Minnesota. My son goes to Brookings, and in Brookings, they can use their ATVs to get back and forth to school and to travel around the community. So and that's a larger community. But
Well, the whole state of South Dakota allows them on their roads,
Oh, really?
right?
okay.
Well, that's interesting.
So,
I guess, I mean, Dave's here. Would you have any input that you would like to add to it?
Mr. President, Dave Borkert, Police Commander. I know of some smaller towns that have had it. We've actually had this conversation come up. I know that they said the enforcement, it's challenging. There's just more of them. One community would be City of Tracy.
Okay.
And, speaking with the officers there, they've just said that at the minimum, there's just a lot more enforcement issues that come up. Now I know that they require some type of permit that they purchase through the city. Whether they really can do that, I don't know, but I know that they have a permit that you have to actually fill out and purchase through the city.
The city of Darfur does too. That's right, Deer Run.
Okay.
And they have a permit system also.
I know Comfrey was contemplating it. I don't know if they actually did it, but they were considering something like that.
Yeah, they are becoming more popular. My brother-in-law's had one for years and getting to more northern Minnesota, but they're very nice vehicles. But my concern comes right down to those 12-year-olds driving on the street with us at 30 miles an hour. I got a problem with that. I just do. Not that I think some 12-year-olds probably would be very responsible and do it well, but I know some other 12-year-olds, and I'm sure we all do.
Oh, I know
But they
some.
have to have the training though. A 12-year-old cannot drive one without taking
Right.
a training course
Still
on it for
12.
safety, so.
Right. I'm not advocating just by saying Brookings had that, they have it, but I certainly also feel that there's a lot more concerns than there are positives, maybe.
And we're hearing from one person with a request. We're not hearing from
Right.
20 people.
Right.
I got 3 in my garage.
You know,
And we do allow them to get from point A to the nearest exit to the city or
That's-
to the
that's
trail.
correct.
So we do allow them on our streets for a limited amount of time, you know, so they can have the use of them.
And we can always change our mind if,
Yeah.
if as time goes by, there's more and more,
Requests, yeah.
more and more requests, more and more people, more and more acceptance of this. But I don't think we necessarily have to be the leader in allowing these types of vehicles, whatever their definition or whatever they're called. I don't think there's a need for a change for one person necessarily.
The comments I hear from the public, which hasn't been a lot, but a few, is that our park and rec departments have them, stuff like that. They're hauling their lawnmowers around and everything else, so if they can use them, why can't we use them?
Okay, and how would we address that? Where's the park-
Work-related
you sent
versus
the park and rec-
recreational purposes.
No,
How do you get from one, if you're dragging a ball diamond, how do you get from one ball diamond to the other?
okay.
Load it on a trailer and,
Mhm.
you know, pull it. You'd hear the opposite, quite honestly. Look at that. The city is,
Hauling
can't
there.
just drive that to the next park. They gotta put it on a trailer and haul
Well,
it by a pickup.
under what legal authorization are those vehicles used on the street?
I think there's an exception for government, or instrumentalities of the government for using vehicles of that type. So
Okay,
I think
that's my answer.
Yeah.
The law allows the
Works for-
government entities to use those vehicles, all right, thank you.
Any more questions, concerns?
I move that we not amend the city code at this time.
Second.
We got a motion and a second not to amend the city code. Any more discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries.
We have 5A to go back
Yep.
to.
Yeah, I was
Oops.
told I skipped one.
That's fine.
Consider
Oh,
resolution to accept
no.
monetary donations to the New Ulm Police Department from Alina Health Systems.
Thank you,
I'll offer the
Alana.
motion, or the offer the resolution, excuse me.
Second.
We got a motion and a second to offer resolution waived reading, accepting the donation of $250. Any more discussion?
Well, this is just to provide the opportunity to safely dispose of prescribed pharmaceutical drugs. Is there, and I assume everyone's aware of that option.
Okay. Any more discussion? Seeing none, Finance Director, please call the roll.
Counselor Fisher,
Yes.
Counselor Mack,
yes.
Counselor Schultz.
Yes.
Counselor Webster.
Yes,
President Schmitz.
Yes, motion carries. Item 5C, consider motion approving the reassessment of the 2007 special assessments for 4 parcels within the Dakota West Edition and set a date for public hearing for Tuesday, November 17th, 2015 at 5 p.m.
I'll move it.
second.
We got a motion and a second. Any more discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries. Item 5D, consider a motion to approve the Spartan ERV change order number A for the aerial truck as specified in amount of $4,677.
Dear, so moved. Is it, are these so moved?
Well, maybe we want to hear what these
I
changes
do,
are.
I do.
Oh,
Blew that out.
Mr. President, councilors, last month we sat down with the engineers from Spartan and went line by line on every item on the aerial truck. If you look through, some are clarifications, some are additions, some are deletions. If the chassis, if you look at that, the deletions outnumber the additions, so we're about 1,100 to the good. The boilerplate, that's a wash, those are mostly clarifications. The aerial device, that's the big one, the $5,135. What that is safety lighting all the way up each side of the aerial truck. It looks almost like roping. It would be blue LED lighting. Instead of just taking a floodlight and putting it on the bottom and shining it up, or putting one at the top and shining it back, where you'd get shadows or you'd be blinded.
And a great picture.
Yeah, that too. But what's nice about that is each rung would be illuminated, and I think it's a safety issue. I think it was intended to be in there in the first place. For some reason, it wasn't. So, and that's the biggest addition. There's also the next biggest one would be the striping down the side. They just had a small 4-inch striping down the side of the truck. That's minimum for DOT and for NFPA standards. What we are proposing is a 6-inch and then 1 inch on both sides of that.
What does it bring the overall cost to the truck up to now?
I believe we were at 805
or something like that.
Yeah.
So probably around 860.
So we're still under budget what we originally thought it was gonna cost.
Correct.
I guess for current lighting, do we have current lighting on the old truck right now, or we just have the spotlight?
We have those old floodlights, and like I said, when you're climbing up.
So you'd say you'd benefit from the safety aspect?
Absolutely. Like I said, it was intended to be put in there. I don't know, for some reason it got skipped. I think we had it on some of the other vendors that we had looked at, and we assumed that it was on this one. It was one of those things that didn't get in there. If you look at some of these line items, I mean, you're up to thousands.
Well, I'll second that.
I'll
I'll
offer
second
the
it.
motion.
I'll second it.
Got a motion, a second. Any more discussion?
Thank you.
Thank you, Paul.
Thank you.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries. Item 5E, consider resolution accepting donations offered to the city for the Park and Rec Department.
I'll offer the resolution.
I'll second that.
We got a motion, a second off the resolution, waive the reading.
We want to note
There's some nice donations
this.
here that we should talk
$200
about.
cash from South Point Federal Credit Union, $100, and that's for movie in the park, actually, I should better state that. $100 cash from New Ulm Telecom, $200 cash from Optimist Club. Park Paver Stones, $100 from Barrett Lurkey. Health Activity Grant, $5,000 cash from Alina Health of New Ulm Medical Center.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
Letters from the mayor.
Gotta write their
Yes,
letters.
right.
He will listen to this meeting anyways.
Oh,
Any more discussion? Seeing none? Finance Director, please call the roll.
Counselor Fisher,
Yes.
Counselor Mack,
Yes.
Counselor Schultz.
Yes.
Counselor Webster.
yes.
President Schmitz.
Yes, motion carries. Item 6A, consider acceptance of list of claims paid and approval of list of claims to be paid. List of claims paid, amount of $2,765,481.64, and claims to be paid, an amount of $1,023,949.17.
Put the lost up.
I'll offer the motion.
I'll second.
Got a motion and a second. Any more discussion on any? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries. With no more business, meeting adjourned.
We are done.
I'm gonna come back for the